Max, how you doing?
Thanks.
Come on down, sir.
I'll be quick because I don't think it needs much time. I'm here because at town meeting, Article number 9 was amended to twice. I amended it to remove indefinitely until rescinded. Then Steve Snow amended it to remove the public auction part and the as justice requires part. So the minutes that are on the town website reflect accurately. So I just want to make sure that you are clear on that.
Me personally,
Yes.
I'm clear on what your amendment says. I'm also clear on what Stephen's amendment said. The question, and they were reported to me inaccurately initially, so just...
Right, and that's because the draft minutes, which were draft, so it's not a big deal that they were not totally accurate because they were draft, were inaccurate.
Right. And... Is that for me?
No, I apologize.
Pursuant to RSA 8080, it is within the realm of the power of the town to limit a sale to this year, not indefinitely. So that's part of the RSA 8080.
Well, you can't say you can never sell it.
No,
Yeah,
right, but you
right.
can limit it to
But that's not what happened.
1 year at a time,
Yeah.
or whatever. But and obviously we're gonna do whatever we're gonna do, probably do nothing. But RSA 8080 doesn't empower your amendment, and that's the problem we're gonna have. In order to enact your amendment to this, there would have to be something in the RSA to empower it.
My amendment was to remove the language indefinitely until, whatever the language is.
Right.
Indefinitely until rescinded.
Okay, yours wasn't by seal bid only?
That was Steve Snow.
Okay, all right. Your amendment is absolutely correct. Stephen's amendment, which is to do it by seal bid only, there's nothing in the RSA that empowers the town to do that. So
That's wrong. You're completely wrong. And if you tried to do a public auction,
yeah,
I think that would be a very, very bad idea, and that you would meet resistance and a lawsuit, and it would be very, very bad for the town. And I
Well-
urge you not to do that.
and we probably won't do anything.
You have been empowered.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I'll let you finish your question or comment, and then I'll let him respond.
Thank you, Lloyd.
By the way, everyone's being civil
Yes.
since town meeting, and we're going to continue that. So thank you, everybody. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. Yes. I actually interrupted you, so I apologize.
Okay. The reason I say this is that the only way you can change the law is to change the law in Concord.
Yep.
They do it all the time. And they do it specifically for
That's
towns,
the governor.
for towns and counties, because you can read any number of statutes that refer only to one county or only to one
Yeah.
town. And that's how laws change. This law, as it reads, doesn't have anything in it that would enable the town's voters to restrict the selection to one type of sale or another. And I'm a little reluctant to give that power away without some sort of debate in Concord as far as how the law is structured. So they're saying that by any means that is reasonable. So the only thing that even comes close to being able to limit the sale to just a sealed bid sale is a selectman may buy a specific article in the town warrant, or the mayor by ordinance may be authorized to dispose of a lien or tax deeded property in a manner than otherwise provided in this section as justice may require. A manner otherwise an additional means of sale.
Other than specified in the article, right?
Other than they're saying tax deed sales by public auction or sealed bid.
Well, First of all, this is a different discussion
Okay,
than whether or not Steve Snow put forward an amendment to take away that language, and he did. And town meeting voted for it, and in fact, you voted for it.
yeah, I remember, they did a good job, I was sitting right next to
Yeah.
Stevie.
And all of us at this table voted for the final article. The video wasn't on YouTube for the amendment, it was only on chips. I don't know if you guys voted for the amendment. But you understand what I'm saying, that's a different argument of whether it's appropriate under the law as to whether it happened. It did happen.
Oh, no, I absolutely agree with you that it happened. That's not a question.
And we've resolved the issue of the draft minutes were inaccurate, which is
Right.
not anything against Heather because they were draft minutes.
Okay,
She corrected them. What she sent to DRA, Department of Revenue Administration, says that you can only sell by sealed bids. I would argue that if the article says you can sell it by public auction or by sealed bid, then that implies that you are only empowered to do it one way or the other. And if town meeting says you can't do it by auction, you can only do it by sealed bid, then you can only do it by sealed bid.
well, that's certainly an interesting argument. My problem with, and I submit that I voted for it, I mean, Stephen was convincing, you were convincing. I was a citizen sitting in the audience, I'm currently a selectman, so I have to look at the sale of public property as what will generate the most revenue for the town.
Right, and sorry, I interrupted again.
And so that's where the discussion started, and that's
Yeah.
where the discussion was moving. If we're limited this year to just public, or sealed bid, then I don't see that as resulting in the most revenue for the town. So I probably would vote not to sell anything this year, and we'll wait until next town meeting to resolve the issue.
So, if you recall also, there was discussion at town meeting about what would produce more income. And the voters were fully aware that the selectmen, you two, and Carolyn believed that the auction would produce more income. And the voters decided that they wanted to sell it by sealed bid. So I would suggest that, because last year it seemed like you guys were having sort of an urgency to sell the properties, get them back on the tax roll, which personally I think is more important than getting more money for each individual property. So I would suggest that the taxpayers were perfectly aware that you thought you'd get more money per property by an auction, and they nevertheless decided they wanted you to sell by sealed auction. So I think that you should sell them by sealed auction this year through, yes. Language is very easy to get wrong. By bid. Get them back on the tax rolls and be done with it.
So perhaps what we should do is we should just have a lottery and give them away, okay?
Get 'em back.
Just, everybody put a chit in the pot and we'll select, and whoever is the winner gets it, and then it's back on the tax rolls.
Or we could have an absolute concert.
Well, that's what's known as an absurd absolute. Taking it to
Absolute, absolutely it is.
Yeah, okay, so we agree with that.
Right.
That's a rhetorical device in an argument when you're losing the argument and you have no
I think the
real
I'm sorry.
No, it isn't.
valid argument.
No, it's taking the statement that it really doesn't matter what
To
we
its
get.
absurd
To its
absolute.
absolute.
All right,
Can you speak?
Crossed out, yes.
It's taking an assertion that what's really important is getting on the tax rolls and not getting value for the property to its, to an absurd conclusion, which is the other end, which says the only thing that matters is getting it on the tax rolls. We have a responsibility to the town, a fiduciary responsibility to handle matters in the best interest of the town. Now, many of these properties have been owned by the town for way, way, way too long. So the urgency to get them back on the rolls, in my view, was, you know, they've just been sitting here for too long and nobody's done anything, let's get it done. Let's do it in the best manner to bring money in and get them back on the tax rolls. That didn't happen last year. It's not going to happen this year. And there were statements made at town meeting in the discussion that are, there were opinions voiced at that point that are demonstrably at odds with reality. And the discussion didn't go on to a further conclusion. My feeling is that next year's town meeting is an appropriate time to continue that discussion. I believe that the vote, as it was taken, was done without full understanding on part of some of the voters. And it was a close vote, as you know. It wasn't lopsided.
I'll follow up.
It wasn't a lopsided vote. It wasn't 95% said, we don't want an auction. There was a concern that that some people that might want to participate couldn't, if they couldn't be there on the day of the auction. There was a belief stated by at least one individual that because there's a premium paid by the buyer for the property at the auction, that absent that premium, that money would come to the town. Would it be incorporated in a higher sealed bid? But that ignores the cost of doing a sealed bid sale that isn't there when you're doing an auction, that's borne by the town regardless of how much revenue is generated in the sale. And it also flies in the face of a long experience of auction sales that bring in the highest price because it's open to anybody and everybody in the room or available by phone or advanced direction. And and it's also a completely open process, whereas a sealed bid might be subject to influence because the only people that see what goes on are those that are directly involved in opening the bids.
We've reached the 10-minute mark. Can you sum up?
Very, very quickly. First of all, I just wanted to verify that Chip acknowledged the Second Amendment to the article,
Oh,
which you
I
did.
don't have a gun.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
To Article 9, thank you.
yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you just there. It was not a close vote. Dan did not call for a recorded vote. It was so clear that the town approved the amendment that it was just by show of hands. And also the article itself, as the final form of the article, passed by show of hands. So it wasn't close. And all of the things that you just said may be good arguments for public auction, but they were discussed at town meeting and everybody there was fully aware. So when it comes down to is that the town voted, putting aside arguments over the law, what it comes down to is that the town voted and you don't care. So,
I think, just so I can sum up,
yes.
it's not that, and I voted,
Right.
I was convinced, but upon reflection,
Right.
selling only by sealed bid runs up against the other part of being a selectman, which is our fiduciary duty. And I think we would be putting ourselves at risk if we didn't try to get the most we could for the property that the town owns.
Sure.
Because there was a certain amount of taxes that were owed in order for us to redeem the property. So
Right, you gotta weigh the cost, and I understand that, and it's obviously within your purview to, I mean, just because we authorize you to sell them by sealed bids doesn't mean that you have to sell them by sealed bids. But I think it is dangerous when you ignore the vote of the people, and you say, well, they voted that way, but they're short-sighted. And if you're going to ignore the voters on this, how do we know you're not going to ignore the voters on any other thing?
But I don't, okay, then we're not gonna.
And that, I will admit, is an absurd absolute on my part.
I don't think we're making a policy of ignoring the voters, and we wouldn't have had a long discussion about this if our intention was to ignore the voters. And I had posited the notion of doing both, which may answer everybody's question. Because if you did it by sealed bid and public auction simultaneously, you could see what generates the right amount of money or the most amount of money. But whether or not we're empowered to do that or want to.
Well, like eBay doesn't auction, but there's also sometimes a buy it now.
Right,
So.
right.
All right, well, thank you very much, I appreciate
Thanks for
it.
coming in.
And once more, Lloyd, I think you're doing a great job with the meetings.